Hoop, there it is on the air. For the next hour, Steve Russell and ESPN basketball analyst Mark Wise will hit the hard court as they look back on the week that was and look forward to the week that is in college basketball. Hoop, there it is, courtesy of Silverback Concrete, Titan MRI, and QC Kinetics. It's full court press time. Here are Steve and Mark.
We are right smack in the middle of the college basketball season. You know what that means? It's time for this year's edition of Hoop. There it is. Welcome in as we talk college basketball. I'm Steve Russell. Yes, retired, but still doing stuff like this. So I'm glad to be here alongside Mark Wise again. Good to have you here, Mark, and pleasure to talk some hoops with you
Well,
again.
I'm glad to be back, and Happy New Year to you
Same
and
to
your
you.
family. So,
Yep.
we're in the middle of the hoop season, if you will, and with the league play getting started on Saturday after this historic start to the season by the Southeastern Conference, I'm anxious to get going.
Interesting that wasn't that long ago, Mark, that the SEC maybe had 2 or 3 teams in the NCAA tournament, and then the commissioner at the time said, hey, that's not acceptable. We've got to schedule better. Facilities have to get better. We've got to recruit better. Well, the message was garnered loud and clear.
Yeah, and I don't think our league has ever been better, and I say that because I don't think the talent has ever been better. So the acquisition of players and whether you're calling it paying players or NIL, I don't really care. But the acquisition of talent, the coaching in this league has never been better. The scheduling has matched those two elements. And when you throw all that together, I don't care how you slice the pie in terms of whether you're talking about the number of ranked teams in the top 25, the number of teams in the top 10 of the net, the number of teams in the top 10 of the KenPom. However you want to slice it, it has been that historic start in the non-conference.
All right. We always love hearing from you and questions, so let's do our questions of the week, brought to you by Davis Chevrolet, your premier North Central Florida dealer of Chevrolet. And to send questions to us, you can send them to questions@gatorshows.com, questions@gatorshows.com. Here we go, Mark. Cruz in Gainesville. Gators scored 100 points and lost to Kentucky.
Right.
When was the last time we scored 100 and lost?
Well, they almost scored 100 and lost in the Colorado game in the NCAA tournament. I don't know the answer to that. It doesn't happen very often. If you didn't have a dog in the race in that game, it was a fabulous college basketball
No question,
game.
yes. William in Gainesville. Gators played well to win in Lexington, but Spurrier off the bench played the best game of his career. Where did he transfer from?
Dayton. He is an elite shooter. One of the things that I thought was disappointing, I got to watch all of the first half and then sporadically in the second half because I was at my game in Mississippi State getting ready for that start. And, you always want to be able to execute the scouting report. And the scouting report is Kobe Brea is a sensational elite catch-and-shoot guy, and yet Florida was unable to guard him in an efficient manner. So from that standpoint, the defense took a step back. But other than that, Florida played really well.
Kim in Gainesville. If you had to pick the MVP of the game for the Gators, would you choose Martin or Clayton?
Yes. Yes. They both played well. And we've talked about this on some broadcasts, especially in the non-conference. The backcourt, the number of great backcourts in this league is just sensational. And I don't care if you're talking about the Kentucky group, if you're talking about Mark Sears and what he brings to the table at Alabama with their backcourt, Tennessee. You can go right down the list. Arkansas, Boogie Flan, freshman. Oklahoma's got Fears and Moore in the backcourt. I'm going to see them on Wednesday night. I think Florida's is as good as anybody's. I think they're as good as anybody in the country in terms of Clayton, Martin, and Richard.
Yeah, I agree. Jason and Yulee, how does this Gator team react to the loss? Tennessee tomorrow, play at Arkansas on Saturday.
Yeah, I said this the other day on the broadcast looking at a big picture thing. Because the league is so good, everybody's going to have 12, 13, 14 quad one opportunities out of 18 games. That's just stupid. So there's a couple of things that I think players, coaches will have to harness. One is you better have a renter's mentality on winning, meaning success is never owned, it's only rented. So you better be able to move on to the next one and don't believe everything everybody tells you about how great you are. The flip side of that is you better be able to have amnesia on losses, because if you don't have the ability to flush away a loss in this league, as good as it is this year, it could snowball into 3 or 4 in a hurry. That's how good the league is.
Alexi in Gainesville, how did Ruben affect the Gators in the loss?
Well, he played really well, especially in the first half. He was a factor, block to block, offensive rebounding, scoring around the basket. I thought it was one of his better games.
I did too. Eric in Melrose won the turnover battle, offensive rebound battle, and put up 100 points, still lost.
Yeah.
What needed to happen differently for us to win?
Guarding better, guarding differently. One thing that Kentucky really does under new head coach Mark Pope, our game has evolved into such a dominant, screen the ball action offensively. Everything happens at the ball. Kentucky's one of the few teams that runs a lot of action off the ball, meaning they'll have 3 different players off the ball going in 3 different directions. They do a lot of split action. That's really difficult to guard because you don't see it a whole lot. So in past years, we would talk about, well, on the return game, Florida needs to do a better job. But this year, there is no return game.
Roy in Gainesville, what game you broadcasting on ESPN this week?
I have Texas A&M and Oklahoma on Wednesday night, so
good matchup.
Top 20 matchup. And then I get Vanderbilt at Missouri on Saturday. 2 surprise teams in the league, Vanderbilt especially. Vanderbilt was the only team to win on the road in opening day on Saturday at LSU. Missouri has a win over Kansas. They've got Grille back after being out a month with a bad fall. So, again, a couple of good games. But I got to tell you, Steve, again, this is something we've been putting up on broadcast. You know, you put up your scoreboard, all 8 games, and there are a lot of numbers on that schedule. And what that means is there's a lot of ranked teams, okay?
12,
and I don't care, like, I think I looked at this morning. Of the 8 games tomorrow and Wednesday night, 7 of them have a number on them. As there's at least one ranked team in the game. So I went and looked at Saturday, and it's the same thing. 7 of the 8 games have a ranked team. That's the way it's going to be every time out, every Tuesday or Wednesday, and every Saturday.
And if you like college basketball,
yeah, you better. This is one year in particular. And I'm going to go in 2 different directions here. But you know I'm a journey guy, not a destination guy. Enjoy the journey, because this is going to be a really difficult journey.
This is.
And it's going to be a difficult one to enjoy because of that. But I'm going to break my own rule and talk about the destination just for a second.
Okay.
Meaning the league is so good, I think at the end of the day, because everybody wants to ask me this all the time, at the end of the day, 8 and 10 gets you in. Wow. No questions asked. Okay?
Wow.
And I think 7-11 will get you in the bubble. I think you'll be, as long as it's the right 7. 2 or 3 of those 7 are the right 7. Yeah, you'll have a shot at getting in.
Wow. Nathaniel in St. Pete, will this show be on every week? Yes.
Yes.
During basketball season. Look forward to that. Stephen in Gainesville, when the rankings come out today, where do you predict the Gators will be ranked?
Oh, we always talk about that. I don't. They'll drop 3 or 4 spots, 9, 10, somewhere around there.
Joey in Jacksonville, how come we don't play Kentucky in Gainesville this year? First time in a long time. First time like 100 years or something.
Again, this is the new format. You can thank Texas and Oklahoma for that, because with adding 2 more teams means fewer teams that you can play twice. And that's not a knock on Texas and Oklahoma. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, numbers game.
Yeah, it's a numbers game.
Stephen in Gainesville, Tennessee whipped Arkansas. Are they really the best team in the land? What do we need to do to beat them?
Well, those are 2 different questions. If I were ranking teams, I would have Auburn 1. I don't think by a lot. They are that good.
If Auburn played Tennessee, you'd pick Auburn.
Auburn.
Okay.
Yes. Auburn and that's not to disparage what Tennessee's done, but Auburn's played a better schedule. They've got better wins. They've got the best player in terms of Janai Broome and what he's been able to do. But Auburn has 6, I think, quad 1 wins already on the season. And now, would I have Tennessee 2? And we'll get to that later when we do the top 4. Most likely. So how's that for a tease? But Auburn is that good. And everybody asks me, what will the winning record take at the end of the year? I think only one team has the ability to go 15-3, 16-2. That's Auburn.
Nate in Gainesville, 2005, Gators opened the season 17-0, then lost 3 straight SEC games, still won the championship. Can you see a similar team?
They'll have to get better defensively. And they are better defensively, but Saturday was a concerning step backwards.
Rachel in West St. Augustine, Rupp Arena was the 6th man on the win. How important is the crowd to winning college basketball?
Big time. I mean, if you think you're going to go to Auburn and win or Tennessee or win, and I just think if anybody can go 4-4 or 5-9 league games on the road, 4-5, 5-4, it would be a sensational road year. I mean, not good, sensational.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see 1 or 2 teams at the 15-3, 14-4 mark, and then you might have 8 teams between 10-8, 8-10. It's going to be that difficult.
OB, Green, and Gainesville, both Kentucky and Florida had transfer portal key players. Is this the way it's going to be across all college sports? Are fans going to be okay with it?
Well, you better be, because it's the way it's going to be.
It is. And and again, I sometimes I get accused of bashing fans, and I'm not, but it's the truth. Fans lament when you lose a player.
Oh.
But you don't ever complain when you get one.
Yeah. It's amazing how that works.
Yeah. Okay, let's do our Quality Play of the Week, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. You need a quality plumber? Rely on the same company Gainesville's trusted since 1984. Quality Plumbing, their name says it all.
Well, with all of our awards, I've decided to do from a non-conference perspective, so I'm going to go a little bit global on you in terms of Play of the Week. It's more like the play of the non-conference, if you want to think of it in those terms. And 2 come to mind. If you haven't seen how the game against St. John's and Baylor ended in the battle for Atlantis, it's bizarre. And I'm talking about this team had it won in regulation, missed a free throw, the other team scored. This team had it won in the first overtime, missed a free throw, the other team scored, and that's how the game ended. So just go back and look at the highlights of St. John's and Baylor. And then the other play that I would encourage you to Google is Oklahoma has a great freshman in Jeremiah Fears. And he has a 4-point play to win the game against Michigan in a non-conference tournament. It's bizarre. It's bizarre. So they're down 3 with the ball. Michigan doesn't foul until he shoots the 3-point shot. Makes the shot, hits the free throw on 2 seconds to go or something, wins the ball game.
I'm going to digress here for a second. UConn had that miserable tournament early in the year.
And everybody
wrote them
threw them under the bus.
Right.
Now they're dealing with another injury.
I was just going to ask you about that.
McNeely's hurt again.
Sometimes when you lose a player like that, it's obviously not very good, but can it help you in the long run in terms of other players stepping up and doing some things?
It can, as long as the damage isn't too great in the short term. I mean, that's one thing to say that, but if you don't accumulate quality wins, your resume is lacking, and therefore instead of being a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament, you're a 6 seed. There's a big difference between those two.
Okay, we'll take a break. We'll come back. Much more to come as our inaugural Hoop There It Is show continues right here. Stay with us.
I'm tired of you living in pain, and I want you to get real lasting relief from chronic pain in your knees, back, shoulders, and hips. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Stop putting it off. Call now and schedule your free consultation. Call QC Kinetics now in Gainesville, Ocala, and the Villages. 352-400-4550. 352-400-4550.
I'm David Steele, voice of the Gators in 1984, when Brian Nasworth began a new journey, starting Quality Plumbing.
And I'm Dick Hubert. When I was the voice of the Gators, I called championship games, while Quality Plumbing was becoming champions for the Gainesville area.
I'm Sean Kelly, the voice of the Gators, as Quality Plumbing celebrates its 40th anniversary. For years to come, I'll be calling games, and Quality Plumbing will continue to be the #1 plumbing company for Gator Nation.
I am Florida Victorious.
I am Florida Victorious.
I am Florida Victorious.
I am Florida Victorious.
I am Florida Victorious. Donate today.
Come on, Gators, get up and give.
Let's win.
Join today.
Your contributions will win us more championships.
Score and assist. Become a member of Florida Victorious.
The winning begins right here,
right now. Give today for FLORIDA.
This is your shot to join the team.
Need the orange and blue. Florida Victorious.
Let's go.
Contribute today.
Gator Nation, this is your chance to support all UF student athletes.
Scan the QR code now.
Together, we are Florida Victorious.
Join today.
You might know that State Farm agent Ruz Agra has great service. He's your good neighbor after all, but did you know that State Farm has surprisingly good rates too? Yep, that's right. Along with good neighbor service, State Farm agent Ruz Agra has surprisingly great rates for everyone in Gainesville and North Central Florida. So call State Farm agent Ruz Agra at 352-240-1779 for your surprisingly great rates today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
For over 2 decades, Miapa has been a staple in Alachua County. Start your day right at Miapa, where fast and affordable authentic cuisine awaits.
We're known for serving the best Cuban coffee.
Our secret is in every sip and every bite, bringing the flavor of our culture straight to your palate. Everyone is welcome at Miapa Latin Cafe. Visit us at one of our locations and let us take you on a journey full of flavor. Miapa Latin Cafe, where every bite is a taste of tradition.
Silverback Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it, we stand by it. Silverback Concrete. Welcome back to Hoop. There it is, alongside Mark Wise. I'm Steve Russell. Thank you for being with us as we talk college basketball. Let's do our Coach of the Week, Mark, brought to you by International Diamond Center. Don't settle for a knockoff diamond when you can get the best diamond at the best prices. For quality, selection, and value, International Diamond Center, the official jeweler of the Florida Gators.
Well, I think everybody knows that until last Saturday or until early last week, there were 4 unbeatens in the country. 3 of those were SEC teams. But the 4th team is one of the best stories that we have going in college basketball this year. Drake hired a Division II head coach by the name of Ben McCollum because their head coach went to West Virginia. Ben McCollum brought in 4 of his starters at his Division II school and have continued that success that Drake has enjoyed the last couple of years. So for them to still be standing when the calendar year turned to 2025, really a great story. 4 Division II starters winning at the Division I level.
And that, maybe it's just a recent phenomenon, Mark, but it just seems to me that with the portal, with all the complaining about it, it just goes to prove there's some really good players that, for whatever the reason, aren't playing for, the big boys, so to speak, but they're really good players at those levels.
Well, what I see is a domino effect, meaning that the power conferences are picking off, if you want to think of it in those terms, the best players at the mid-major level.
Right.
The mid-major level is picking off the players at the small conference level. The small conference are picking off the NAIA in Division II. So from that standpoint, yes, everybody gets a chance to play up, quote unquote. It doesn't always work out. But more times than not, if you're picking off the best of the next tier, yeah, they've got a place to play at this level.
Team of the Week brought to you by Ruse Ogra State Farm Insurance. State Farm agent Ruse Ogra is your go-to agent in Gainesville and North Central Florida for the service you deserve at the price you want. Team of the Week.
Again, I'm going back to Auburn. Team of the non-conference for me because of the number of quad one wins. They played a great schedule. Janai Broome, if this were a horse race, okay, and we had already come around the clubhouse for the first time, and we're headed to the backstretch. Okay, my Kentucky is coming out.
Love it.
He's in the lead for National Player of the Year, and it's not particularly close.
Wow. With
With all due respect to Cooper Flagg and anybody else that's in the running, right now it's Janai Broome. He's been that good. I don't know of another team who utilizes one player as many different ways as Auburn utilizes Broome, meaning they'll throw it to him on the block, they'll run the offense through him at the high post. He'll actually come out and be a rotator and an assist guy. He's the best player in college basketball right now.
What does Bruce Pearl do? What is his role in this, Mark, from a coaching standpoint? Because you just mentioned some of the varied ways that he uses Broome.
Yeah.
That's coaching.
Well, that's correct. There's two things. You got to have the skill set of a versatile player, and then you got to utilize that skill set. I think Bruce's system, the flex system that they run on offense, is kind of tailor-made for a guy like Broome. And then he's surrounded. Auburn is an older team, and this is our last year of COVID redos. Old continues to win, and I'll be anxious to see. Duke's got the younger guys this year, and led by Flagg, and see how they do in the tournament. But Old has won the last couple of years, and I don't think that's going to be any different. So you're talking about Chaney Johnson, you're talking about Chad Baker-Mazzara. They've added the freshman Pettiford, who's played really well. Denver Jones is older. This is an older team that plays through Broome and is just really good. They can beat you in a lot of different ways. I think they can beat you in the 60s. They can beat you in the 90s.
I want to flip the coin here because we know how good the SEC is.
Yeah.
Vandy beat LSU and beat them at LSU,
right.
The only road team to win.
Right.
I watched some of the South Carolina game, and that was tough to watch for South Carolina. But
the announcers were really good in the game.
Yes.
Mike Morgan, I hope you're watching.
That's right, Mike. It's one game.
Again, it comes back to what I said before. You've got to be able to handle the success or flush out the losses. We interviewed Cam Matthews after the game the other day, and I brought up that very point. I said, you as a veteran guy, you know that this game, as impressive as a win as it was, it only counts for one. So what's important moving forward, and those are the things that he talked about.
We'll take a break, come back, much more Hoop. There it is to come. Stay with us.
Silverback Concrete is a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that builds commercial structures for contractors who expect unrivaled quality, including the head ball coach's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grille. You only have one chance to make a building that holds up to the highest standards through all kinds of weather. Visit silverbackconcrete.co to see why they're the #1 choice in the Southeast. You stand on it, we stand by it. Silverback Concrete's got your back.
Hey fans, don't get sacked by high prices. Join the winning team at Davis Gainesville Chevrolet. This week at Davis, score big savings on our all-star Chevy selection. The most awarded brand for new vehicle quality, like Chevy's MVP, the new Silverado, with low 2.8 financing and no payments for 90 days. Plus, we're tackling high prices on the area's best GM-certified pre-owned inventory. So join the winning team at Davis Gainesville Chevrolet on North Main Street.
The most important thing I learned from my father was work ethic and integrity. Never veer away from integrity, even if it costs you money.
International Diamond Center owner Keith LeClaire.
The core value for IDC is to protect the customer.
That means offering the largest selection, uncompromising quality, the strongest warranties, and honest guidance from experts who are not paid on commission. International Diamond Center at Celebration Point. Online, shopidc.com.
At Crystal Air and Water, we've got a winning offer for you. As you switch off the AC and turn on the heat, why not upgrade to a new system? Take advantage of our amazing financing options. You can get a 12.99 fixed rate for 5, 10, or 15 years, or you can score big with 12 months, same as cash financing. Don't fumble on comfort this season. Crystal Air and Water has you covered. Call them today at 352-333-0460 or visit acpenguin.com.
License number CMC 1249384.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured,
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
I'm tired of you living in pain, and I want you to get real lasting relief from chronic pain in your knees, back, shoulders, and hips. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Stop putting it off. Call now and schedule your free consultation. Call QC Kinetics now in Gainesville, Ocala, and the Villages. 352-400-4550. 352-400-4550.
At Titan MRI and Imaging, you'll visit the only locally owned and operated MRI imaging center in town. Start feeling better today. It's your choice. TitanMRI.com.
Welcome back to Hoop. There it is. First one of the year. Looking forward to working with Mark here as we're in a great season of college basketball coming up here. Sub of the Week brought to you by Miapa Latin Cafe. Discover 11 delicious Cuban sandwiches at Miapa Latin Cafe. 5 locations in Gainesville and Alachua. You're never far from the best Cuban food north of Miami. Sub of the Week.
Well, one of the big surprises so far this season has been Vanderbilt. They're 13-1. We talked about the road win at LSU. They're actually 31st in the net. I mean, so they become a resume builder. Their leading scorer comes off the bench. Jason Edwards, 5'11", being kind, maybe 6 foot guard, transfer from North Texas, leads them in scoring. Really quick, a little bit maybe like Josh Hubbard at Mississippi State, not quite as good, but a quick release, deep range. And any coach that can look down his bench 5 minutes into the game and go, hey, go get me 18 tonight. Yeah, that's quite the pleasure that Mark Byington enjoys.
In today's world, Mark, how special is that? I mean, look, players want to start. Yeah. Players want to play. I know coaches tell them, look, does it matter if you start, if you play your minutes. But how special is that from a mindset where a player is willing to come off the bench like that?
Well, they're not willing. Coaches have to get them to that point. And so they have to convince them and a lot of times show them. players that I have talked to over the years have never been convinced about that role. They have to be shown that role, meaning you have to show them over 3 or 4 games that they're still going to get starter minutes, they're still going to get their shots, they're still going to get their opportunities.
Assess, if you will, early on here, the 2 newbies, Oklahoma, Texas.
Yeah, see, Oklahoma, I have them on consecutive Wednesdays. I go to Norman tomorrow, and then I go back there next Wednesday as well, and I see Texas twice, both times on the road, starting with next midweek, I have Texas at Oklahoma. So I have back-to-back Wednesdays, I have Big 8 basketball. Okay?
Yeah,
I've got Texas A&M at Oklahoma, and then I've got Texas at Oklahoma.
Yeah. Young people are going, what'd you just say?
Yeah. Oklahoma is the bigger surprise. They went undefeated, and the league said, okay, we're going to let you open at Alabama. They're not an overly big team, but the combination of Moore and Fears, who both average right at 18 points a game, they're really good offensively. They're one of the better shooting teams in the league, in the league and in the country. And speaking of better shooting teams, Texas was leading the country in three-point shooting until they had to go play at Texas A&M, and nobody shoots well against the buzzsaw. That's what I'm calling their hybrid.
Like it.
Hybrid man zone, whatever it is that Buzz wants to call it. But so they were tied the other night at A&M at 37 all at half, and then A&M ends up winning by 20. That's going to happen a lot with Texas A&M. So my game tomorrow night Wednesday night, I should say, we'll have a really good defensive team in Texas A&M and a really good offensive team in Oklahoma, so something will have to give.
Games to look for. Speaking of that, brought to you by Florida Victorious. Game-changing plays, life-changing impact. Florida Victorious, the proud partner of the Florida Gators on and off the court.
Well, this is nothing new, so you're going to hear this all season long, but starting tomorrow night, Auburn is at Texas. Again, the best team, I think, in the country, on the road at Texas. Texas's SEC home opener. Wednesday night, of course, you've got to watch A&M at Oklahoma, 2 ranked teams going at it in Norman. Friday night, UCLA's at Maryland. I'm really curious to follow travel for not only the West Coast teams going east. I think everybody understands that. But I want to see what happens when the East Coast teams go west and then have to return. What happened is, because we all know going east is much more difficult on the body.
Right.
So going west is not going to be that big a deal, I don't think. As a matter of fact, Illinois just went 2-0 on the road at Oregon and Washington. So, but now they've got to come back east, so now they've got that adjustment to make. So I'm very curious to see how the West Coast additions in leagues translates into W's and L's.
Baller of the Week, brought to you by Crystal Air and Water. Family-owned and operated Crystal Air and Water services air conditioners, furnaces, boilers, and more for Gainesville, Alachua, and nearby areas. We're not comfortable until you are, from Crystal Air and Water.
Well, I got ahead of myself earlier because I talked so much about Janai Broome. I don't know if Auburn's in the top 20 without Janai Broome. That's how important I think he is.
Wow.
And that's on a talented roster. But he is the center of the spoke of what they're trying to do on both ends of the floor. And they funnel things through him on offense and to him on defense. And as a result, I think they're the best team in the land, and I think he's the best player in the country.
Now I waited to the second half here to talk specifically Florida-Tennessee.
Yeah.
Tennessee, the difference that I see, Mark, is offensively. I mean, they're seemingly much better offensively with their defensive trademark. What do you see with them?
Well, I think the offense, here's what I would say. One of the surprises is not that Tennessee is undefeated. They're the only undefeated team in the country. But I was surprised at Chaz Lanier, the transfer from North Florida, his ability to play up and replace the production of Dalton Connect. Now, he's not as explosive as Connect in terms of getting to the rim. He's probably a little bit better shooter. But, Connect was dynamite offensively, and they could do things. They could isolate for him. They don't necessarily isolate for Lanier, but he's more than made up for the offense that they lost by Connect. To me, that's been one of the big surprises. So from a Florida matchup with Tennessee, yeah, you've got to be concerned about Ziegler and Meshack and the way they defend. Tennessee is as good as anybody in the country at putting pressure on the ball. Most people like to put pressure on the ball, but they also have gap integrity. In other words, they're really good at guarding the ball. With pressure, don't get beat, so they don't have to get into rotations, especially on the defensive end. And when you can stay out of rotations, your defense is much better. So Florida's going to have to really execute at a high level offensively to get the kind of shots that they want. I'm sure that Rick Barnes, if I remember right, didn't Florida wax Tennessee here last year. So I'm sure that's being played over in Knoxville yesterday and today. So again, it's going to be another great matchup.
Isn't Tennessee also an older roster team?
Yeah, because Ziegler's in his 77th year and Meshack's in his 92nd year. And yeah, they've got some older guys as well. And Lanier's an older guy. So, but that, again, I think the whole league is that way.
When it comes to Florida.
By the way, can I just say one thing?
Absolutely.
Because you got me thinking about the age thing. I've got a graphic for Wednesday night's game because if I remember right, A&M has 5 guys who are playing in their 124th game or more.
Wow.
So that's the point I'm trying to make, is our game is really old.
When it comes to Florida,
yeah,
I think people thought Florida would be good. I don't know that they thought they'd be unbeaten until Kentucky.
Yeah.
Where do you see the biggest improvement with Florida?
Well, obviously it's on the defensive end until Saturday. I think what Martin brings to the table, he gives them a defensive presence, a physical presence on the perimeter that I don't think they've had the last 4 or 5 years. The bouncy bigs are still the bouncy bigs. Walter Clayton Jr. is still Walter Clayton Jr. I think Will Richard has evolved into a better player all around. I know he didn't particularly shoot the ball well on Saturday, but he had been shooting the ball lights out in the last 3 or 4 games. I think some of the things that we're talking about Florida, and we'll only know in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Florida's non-conference schedule was good. It was not great. And as a consequence, and it's not me saying that, I mean, if you look on the net, I mean, they're ranked in the top 10 in the net, but their non-conference strength of schedule is 143.
Wow.
So, and again, you don't always, that's also one of the drawbacks of the transfer portal, because you could schedule ahead and go, well, we know what they're going to have. They're going to be really good. The North Carolina win is a good win, but it's not a great win.
Right.
So from that standpoint, Florida is 1-1 in quadrant 1 games. I mean, that'll come back, but I was going to say that'll come back to haunt them come Selection Sunday. It really won't, because of all the quad 1 opportunities that you have in league play.
Basically an 8-man rotation for Florida.
Correct. 4 for 3 on the perimeter, 4 for 2 on the inside.
Does that kind of help in players knowing their role, what's expected of them?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. I think Denzel Aberdeen is a great example of a guy who's kind of been patient and worked to get better. He knows he's going to get 19, 20 minutes a game now. And so those 4 bigs know that they're going to get rotated. They're all going to play around anywhere from 15 to 23 minutes a game. If there was a couple of areas of improvement, Florida missed 13 free throws the other night. Alex Condon should be a better free throw shooter. I don't know that Chinyelu will be, but he stepped, at one point in time, I thought Kentucky fouled him on purpose and he went and made 2. So that's a good sign. But Walter Clayton missed 3 free throws, and I don't think he's missed 3 free throws in a month in his entire career. So free throw shooting needs to be better.
The other thing I want to ask about in terms of what you're mentioning about Aberdeen, players knowing what they're going to do and what they're being asked to do. I guess I didn't realize Aberdeen's the only guy who's been with the head coach all 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
That's the world we're in now, right?
No. And guess what? Nobody cares. If you win, nobody cares.
Yeah.
I mentioned the free throw shooting. I would be in error if I didn't mention Thomas Houck's improvement at the free throw line. Last year he was 47%, and I think he's 82 this year. So that's the kind of improvement that Florida needs from all those bigs.
We'll take a break. We'll come back. Much more to come. Hoop, there it is. Stay with us.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
The most important thing I learned from my father was work ethic and integrity. Never veer away from integrity, even if it costs you money.
International Diamond Center owner Keith LeClaire.
The core value for IDC is to protect the customer.
That means offering the largest selection, uncompromising quality, the strongest warranties, and honest guidance from experts who are not paid on commission. International Diamond Center at Celebration Point. Online, shopidc.com.
I'm David Steele, voice of the Gators in 1984, when Brian Nasworth began a new journey, starting Quality Plumbing.
And I'm Mick Hubert. When I was the voice of the Gators, I called championship games, while Quality Plumbing was becoming champions for the Gainesville area.
I'm Sean Kelly, the voice of the Gators, as Quality Plumbing celebrates its 40th anniversary. For years to come, I'll be calling games, and Quality Plumbing will continue to be the #1 plumbing company for Gator Nation.
The most important thing I learned from my father was work ethic and integrity. Never veer away from integrity, even if it costs you money.
International Diamond Center owner Keith LeClaire.
The core value for IDC is to protect the customer.
That means offering the largest selection, uncompromising quality, the strongest warranties, and honest guidance from experts who are not paid on commission. International Diamond Center at Celebration Point. Online, shopidc.com.
I'm tired of you living in pain, and I want you to get real lasting relief from chronic pain in your knees, back, shoulders, and hips. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Stop putting it off. Call now and schedule your free consultation. Call QC Kinetics now in Gainesville, Ocala, and the Villages. 352-400-4550. 352-400-4550.
Hey fans, don't get sacked by high prices. Join the winning team at Davis Gainesville Chevrolet. This week at Davis, score big savings on our all-star Chevy selection. The most awarded brand for new vehicle quality, like Chevy's MVP, the new Silverado, with low 2.8 financing and no payments for 90 days. Plus, we're tackling high prices on the area's best GM-certified pre-owned inventory. So join the winning team at Davis Gainesville Chevrolet on North Main Street.
Over 2 decades, Miapa has been a staple in Alachua County. Start your day right at Miapa, where fast and affordable authentic cuisine awaits.
We're known for serving the best Cuban coffee.
Our secret is in every sip and every bite, bringing the flavor of our culture straight to your palate. Everyone is welcome at Miapa Latin Cafe. Visit us at one of our locations and let us take you on a journey full of flavor. Miapa Latin Cafe, where every bite is a taste of tradition.
If you've got joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back that won't go away, you need to check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief. QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550.
And Silverback Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it, we stand by it. Silverback Concrete. You wanted to make a point
Oh, I wanted to finish my scheduling. I got off track after mentioning UCLA and Maryland about the West Coast, East Coast travel. Saturday, Florida at Arkansas. There's a chance both of those teams could be 0-2 going into that game. I mean, again, I'm talking about snowballing. So you got to be careful here. Bama at Texas A&M. You talk about two opposites.
Yeah.
And then on Sunday, UAB has been one of the real disappointments so far, and FAU has a coaching change, a roster change, because, the big guy, Golden, now plays for Dusty May at Michigan. Elijah Martin is here, and so on and so forth. So UAB at FAU on Sunday is going to get my attention.
Which teams, Mark, in the mid-major category strike you so far?
Well, again, you have to come back and start with Drake. I think the other one, and this is, everybody wants to talk. I just say outside the power conferences and let everybody else figure that out. Memphis is really good. This is Penny Hardaway's best team. I know Mississippi State went there and waxed them, but then Memphis played a great schedule. Memphis waxed Ole Miss. And so I think you're going to see, I mentioned those two teams, Mississippi State and Ole Miss with Memphis. I think you're going to see this with our league. I think you're going to go, well, they beat them by 20, but then they lost to them by 20. How can that be? Well, when you have great players, really good players and good coaching, that can happen.
Let's go to the league here, and I think most people now, to your point, Auburn, Tennessee, Florida, Kentucky, whatever. But there's maybe Texas A&M is in that.
Yeah.
But you're going to go see Oklahoma. Mississippi State's played well.
Yes.
Ole Miss has played well.
Nobody has played bad. That's
right.
South Carolina entered league play with the worst record at 10-3. I mean, to give you some idea of how good, and they beat Clemson, which is, I don't think Clemson is as good as they were a year ago because they lost P.J. Hall, but it's a quality win nonetheless. The league is just stupid, Steve. It's just stupid good.
I guess what I'm driving at is, who's a team that isn't maybe the cream of the crop
in the league,
but if you get them and maybe get them at their place, like Mississippi State kind of looks that for me.
Yeah, I think they're better offensively.
That's why I think they're better.
Yeah,
yes.
They're definitely better offensively. Hubbard is actually better than he was a year ago when he had a great freshman season. They brought in Claudell Harris, a transfer who can make threes also. Keyshawn Murphy is much improved. They're a better team. The team that I'm kind of keeping my eye on is Georgia.
Really?
And I know that they had a tough outing the other day on the road at Ole Miss, but guess what? Everybody's going to have that. You're going to go on the road and you're going to get beat by 20 and go, what's wrong? Well, nothing. You just got to go on to the next one. They've got the great freshman in Newell, who I think is in everybody's lottery, 6'10", 6'11", athletic. I mean, he's just really good. They've got LeFew, who can make three-point shots, who's a transfer. They've got older guards and Demery and Kane. There's a lot of things I like about Georgia.
Okay, let's do our women's basketball check-in, brought to you by Meldon Law. With 50 years of experience, the only accident law firm partner of the Florida Gators, Meldon Law, won't back down.
Yeah, good to see that the women picked up, the Florida women picked up their first league win yesterday, and I know they've got Kentucky in here on Thursday. But we talk about all the ranked teams on the men's side. Did you know that the SEC women also have 8 teams ranked in the top 25? I'm going to give you a date to remember on the women's side.
Okay.
Thursday, January 23rd. LSU will go to South Carolina, and that is must-watch TV.
It is, for a lot of reasons.
For a lot of reasons. Yes, for a lot of reasons.
I was watching South Carolina yesterday, and I think they played Mississippi State or Ole Miss. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
First quarter, South Carolina's losing.
Yeah, but
second
that's
quarter.
That's the reason why you play four of them.
Second quarter, they weren't losing.
Yeah.
It's just amazing how, and I don't know that Dawn. I mean, Kim Mulkey deserves credit. She's won championships
At two different schools.
So, like her, don't like her style, she deserves a lot of credit. But Dawn Staley just goes about her business. They're really
reloading,
good.
Man. They're reloading. They're so balanced. I worked a lot of games with Roy Philpott, and he does some on the women's side, and he says they've got like 5 players who can get you 20 any given night. You know how I feel about that when you can increase the number of ways that your team can win games. That makes you a tough out, in my opinion, come March, because you are going to play different styles in March. So with that being said, you asked me about Texas and Oklahoma on the men's side. How about what they bring to the table on the women's side in terms of 2 teams in the top 10? So I was in Starkville on Thursday night, and that's kind of a long story, but travel problems as usual. Thursday night I'm there, and I'm watching Texas and Oklahoma women play. And Texas presses you all over the place. They forced 27 turnovers. There was a lot of juice in the building. It was really fun to watch. So on the women's side, just like on the men's side, there are going to be a lot of great matchups.
Top 4 teams brought to you by Fairlife Core Power. Discover Core Power protein shakes by Fairlife. Explore our 26-gram and 42-gram high-protein drinks, perfect for workout recovery and nutrition.
Well, Steve, I've got Auburn 1 and Tennessee 2, and then it gets real interesting for me. But I'm going to have Duke 3rd, and I know there was an early loss to Kentucky where Flagg had a couple of turnovers late in the game. That he'll get better from that, and has gotten better from that. And then at number 4, I'm going to have the team that no one is talking about on a national scale a lot, and that's Iowa State. What they have done, because they're, I think they're like 12-1, 13-1, something like that, and they've got 3 quad 1 wins. His mark on his team has always been defensive, but much like Mississippi State, they've gotten much better offensively. I think in last year's run through the Big 12, Iowa State mainly won games in the 60s and 70s. Well, now they can win games in the 80s. And when you can do that, that's a big, I hate to repeat myself, but that's a big difference.
I wanted to ask about this very quickly when Jim Larrañaga stepped down.
Right.
The thought is, doesn't like the way basketball is now, because it's very unusual.
Well, he did when they went to the Final Four with transfers.
Well, right. That's where I'm going.
Yeah.
And it's unusual to, not coach, to do it in the middle of a year.
Right.
What were your thoughts when that happened?
Well, first of all, he's 75. And so for guys that age, Steve, you might be here when I'm 75. I promise you I will not be here when I'm 75. I think today's game is so vastly different in how you roster construct. It's not what those guys signed up for in terms of the Krzyzewskis, the Jay Wrights, the Williamses, the Hall of Famers, the Boeheims of the world, if you will. So from that standpoint, I think you have to have a different paradigm. The portal worked beautifully for Miami when they made that Final Four run. When it doesn't work well, then you're going to have to go right back to it. And so do I understand the frustrations of the portal and the paying of players? Yes. But that's where we are.
And that's not going away.
That's not going away. And I'm not a believer that revenue sharing is going to solve these problems.
Overall, if I said in the Mark Wise crystal ball,
that's dangerous.
The state of the game.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into officiating yet. we'll do that later.
Boy, we almost made the whole first show without.
That's why I didn't bring it up.
Yeah,
I wanted to wait till later time.
Okay.
But the state of the game, where do you see it?
Without talking about officiating.
Yes.
Okay. I have not changed in the last 2 years. I don't think our game has ever been better, and I don't think it's ever been governed worse. So, and I'm talking about the NCAA. I'm talking about their inability to see what's down the road and their inability to govern what is right now. So I'm not aware of any program in the country on probation not eligible to play in the NCAA tournament. And until we get to that, until there are some real consequences for tampering and figuring out how to govern that, then it's the Wild Wild West is not going anywhere, folks. This is the way it's going to be for a while.
Okay, we'll take a break. We'll wrap up our first hoop. There it is of the college basketball season. Stay with us.
At Crystal Air and Water, we've got a winning offer for you. As you switch off the AC and turn on the heat, why not upgrade to a new system? Take advantage of our amazing financing options. You can get a 12.99 fixed rate for 5, 10, or 15 years, or you can score big with 12 months, same as cash financing. Don't fumble on comfort this season. Crystal Air and Water has you covered. Call them today at 352-333-0460 or visit acpenguin.com.
License number CMC 1249384.
You might know that State Farm agent Ruz Agra has great service. He's your good neighbor after all, but did you know that State Farm has surprisingly good rates too? Yep, that's right. Along with good neighbor service, State Farm agent Ruz Agra has surprisingly great rates for everyone in Gainesville and North Central Florida. So call State Farm agent Ruz Agra at 352-240-1779 for your surprisingly great rates today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't. Our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured.
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
Silverback Concrete is a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that builds commercial structures for contractors who expect unrivaled quality, including the head ball coach's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grille. You only have one chance to make a building that holds up to the highest standards through all kinds of weather. Visit silverbackconcrete.co to see why they're the #1 choice in the Southeast. You stand on it, we stand by it. Silverback Concrete's got your back.
I'm tired of you living in pain, and I want you to get real lasting relief from chronic pain in your knees, back, shoulders, and hips. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Stop putting it off. Call now and schedule your free consultation. Call QC Kinetics now in Gainesville, Ocala, and the Villages. 352-400-4550. 352-400-4550.
I am Florida Victorious. I am Florida Victorious. I am Florida Victorious.
I am Florida Victorious.
I am Florida Victorious.
Donate today.
Come on, Gators. Get up and give. Let's win.
Join today.
Your contributions will win us more championships.
Score and assist. Become a member of Florida Victorious. The winning begins right here,
right now.
Give today for FLORIDA.
This is your shot to join the team. Need the orange and blue. Florida Victorious.
Let's go. Contribute today.
Gator Nation, this is your chance to support all UF student athletes.
Scan the QR code now.
Together, we are Florida Victorious.
Join today.
At Titan MRI and Imaging, you'll visit the only locally owned and operated MRI imaging center in town. So start feeling better today. It's your choice. TitanMRI.com.
We wrap up our initial Hoop There It Is program of the year. Mark, for those who maybe are just tuning in, let's focus on tomorrow, Florida, Tennessee, big game in the O'Connell Center. What are some of your keys for the game?
Well, first would be rebounding. Florida has been a good rebounding team this year. The game is going to be extremely physical because that's the way Tennessee plays. I would look at rebounding first. I would look at field goal percentage second. And then third, I would probably go three-point line. I mean, I'm not sure you have to win that battle, but you can't lose it. You can't make 7 and Tennessee make 10. If you win that battle, then I would like Florida's chances.
Does it work on a team? They're the only unbeaten left.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Rick Barnes doesn't mention that, but does that enter into a player's mind at all?
I think it would be if you had younger players.
Okay.
But because we have so many older players, I think they're more immune to that. Does that mean it might play a role? Maybe, but I think once the ball gets thrown up, I don't think Jamal Meshack will have any thought about, my God, we're undefeated.
And then you kind of mentioned this. Rick Barnes has always been a defensive guy. I think realized we have to get better offensively, and Dalton Connect comes in and helps them run away.
And they changed stylistically.
Tell me how.
Well, they changed because they started shooting more threes. They eliminate. It's an interesting thing. We had Alabama right before Christmas. Mike Morgan asked Nate Oates, do you enjoy watching the NBA with all the three-point shooting? And his answer was very succinct. He said, you mean the most efficient basketball played on the planet? And people don't understand, it may not be pleasant to the eye, but shooting threes and scoring at the rim and scoring at the free throw line are the three most efficient ways to score. It is not 2-point jumpers, 2-point leaners. That's why they have eliminated the 2-point shot from their game, and that's why Nate Oates has eliminated it. And for the most part, a lot of teams have started doing that. So you're going to see, I would see, in 5 years ago, I used to write down how many three-point shots a team would shoot a game. 18, 19. Well, now it's 25, 26. The game is analytically driven right now with shot selection.
And let me close with that. Somebody listening, analytically driven, go into that a bit.
Well, what that means is that's a very long answer because of the numbers involved. But the most efficient way you can score in today's game, according to the analytics, is the free throw line. The second most efficient is at the rim. Doesn't that make sense?
Sure.
I mean, both those make sense.
Yep.
The third most efficient, because of the extra point involved, is the three-point shot. And after that is a tremendous gap to any 2-point shot you want to take. So people want to do more of those top three. And you're not going to, in a possession, you're not going to get to the free throw line. You have to drive it, blah, blah, blah. But the thing you can shoot more of, 3-point shots and at the rim. That's why everybody's trying to get to the rim. Everybody's shooting a lot of threes.
Makes sense. And that is what we're going to end on in our Hoop There It Is, our first broadcast of the year. Thanks to Mark. We appreciate you being with us back here next week. Make sure and join us. I'm Steve Russell. See you later.
We thank you for listening to Hoop There It Is with Steve Russell and ESPN's Mark Wise. Hoop There It Is, the service of Silverback Concrete, Titan MRI, and QC Kinetics. It's available for you via podcast at WRUF.com and on the WRUF radio app. Hoop There It Is, paid for by Weeby Marketing and produced by ESPN 98.1 FM, 850 AM, WRUF, the home of the Florida Gators.